Recorded live from CEDIA Expo 2025, this two-part episode of Convo by Design explores how technology, design, and infrastructure are converging to reshape the way we live, from the evolving role of integrators to the growing importance of energy resilience. The conversation examines what it takes to design spaces that are intelligent, responsive, and future-ready, featuring insights from EmeraldX's Dan Farrisi and RoseWater Energy founder Joe Piccirilli. This episode connects strategy, storytelling, and engineering into a single forward-looking narrative. Oh, so much fun. And it was all recorded from inside a Volkswagen ID Buzz in Denver in September. Two conversations, one shared theme. The future of the built environment depends on collaboration, foresight, and systems thinking. From CEDIA Expo's show floor to the electrical panel itself, this episode explores how design, technology, and infrastructure must evolve together. This two-part episode brings together CEDIA Expo 2025 from two perspectives. The first conversation features Dan Ferrisi, group editor for EmeraldX, who joins the show from the show floor, from inside the Volkswagen ID Buzz, to discuss the evolving role of trade events and the growing convergence between design and integration. Farrisi explains how CEDIA has become more than a technology showcase. It's now a critical meeting ground for designers, integrators, architects, manufacturers, and educators navigating a rapidly changing industry. He outlines how integrators are no longer simply installers, but partners in shaping outcomes as residential and commercial systems increasingly overlap. The conversation shifts towards experience design, how lighting, audio controls, and infrastructure work together now to support how people live, work, and interact. Farrisi also explains and emphasizes the importance of storytelling, education, and advocacy in helping professionals communicate value in a crowded and often misunderstood marketplace. Then you're going to hear from Joe Piccirilli, founder and CEO of RoseWater Energy, with a career spanning more than 5 decades, from building sound advice into a public company and founding RoseWater Energy. Piccirilli brings a deeply technical and philosophical perspective to the conversation. At the center of his work is a deceptively simple idea. Most technology failures begin with power. Picarrilli explains how unreliable power, poor grounding, and inconsistent quality undermine even the most sophisticated systems. His solution, the RoseWater Hub. And we're going to get to all of that, but think about it this way. What good is your design of a technology space, technology-driven space, if it doesn't work? And what if it doesn't work because the power system that it's built on isn't conducive? Something to think about, and you're going to hear about all of it. And there's a lot right after this. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you've heard me say this, that the most important word in the design industry is service. Product is important, price is important, selection is important, but stellar service is the premier idea that can make all the difference in the success of a project, any project. How design professionals like you demand great service and your favorite brands in one place with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commission sales professionals. It's really important. It means that their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that with over 60 years of experience in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. Now, you have the Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. Earn 3% in Best Buy gift cards, e-gift cards, or 2.5% in rewards checks for every qualified and delivered sale. In addition to special trade pricing, exclusive offers, access to exclusive special events, and so much more than I could possibly tell you about here. And the cherry on top is access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands and the stellar service, again, from a company that has been serving the industry for over 60 years. Terms and conditions apply to the Pro Rewards program and builder trade incentives. So visit a Pacific sales expert at a showroom today for full details and to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. All right, then.
All right.
How's your day?
It has been good. It has been good. It's been a great first day. I feel like the vibe is exactly where we want it to be. The energy is high. Seeing thousands and thousands of people come through, and more importantly, just people who are really excited about the future of smart home, the future of commercial integration, how they can improve their business, make themselves better, and just serve their clients more effectively.
So Dan, those listening on Convo by Design, tell me, let's back up a second. Name, company, background, the elevator pitch, what you do.
Sure. So my name is Dan Farrisi. I'm Group Editor, Commercial and Security with Emerald. My overall portfolio with Emerald includes CE Pro, Commercial Integrator, Security Sales and Integration, Campus Safety, and Demand Gen Report. So as the brand leader or supervisor for those brands, I try to make sure that they have their finger right on the pulse of their respective market communities, all B2B focused, and that we are being responsive to and empowering our readers to be more effective, be more profitable, and really optimize for what could be a turbulent or uncertain future. Who knows?
CEDIA Expo, Denver, 2025. Day one. I am exhausted.
I can imagine.
In the best possible way. You know, anyone who's listening, and I'm sure you know this too, you go to a show that challenges your current beliefs and what you understand the industry to be, and it allows you to sort of open your mind a little bit and not just see what's possible, but to think differently about what you know, and that's what's happening here right now. Yeah. It's incredible.
I totally agree with you. I think events like CEDIA Expo, CIX give you an opportunity to widen your aperture, think about different vertical market opportunities, ancillary opportunities. I just got finished an hour or two ago doing an education session under the CEDIA Expo education conference, talking about resi-mercial and how residential specialists have been able to branch out very successfully into light commercial and resi-mercial work. It's just the idea of widening that aperture and not just taking yesterday's opportunities and continuing to run with them, but thinking about how can I optimize myself for tomorrow's opportunities? How can I increase my skill set? How can I find partners that will enable me to be even more effective? And this is really the catalyst. This event, CEDIA Expo CIX, is the catalyst to bring those people together, give them an opportunity to think about, again, not the past, but the future.
And when we think about the future, you kind of put it in different categories. Almost here now in some way, shape, or form, and then out into the future. You and I were having a conversation. I was telling you about a conversation I had with an architecture group in Los Angeles, and we were talking about healthcare and what's possible. And they were explaining, it's like, look, you can have areas of the country that where if something happens, if there's an emergency, you can't get the person that needs help to a place where they need to be in order to get the kind of help they need and deserve yet. But there's this idea, you can build a local regional hospital, local regional surgical center, and then you say, well, where's the surgeon? Due to AI, due to robotics, you can have a surgeon in Japan operating on a patient in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Yeah.
And it's done remotely, it's done virtually, and it's done as if they were, because it's robotically, as if they were in the same OR as that surgeon. That's an extreme example of what's possible, but we're not that far away.
No, I agree completely, and it really does. It flattens the world, it removes geographic barriers. As you say, people that might be in exurban or in rural areas, they may not have access to what might be considered like, the top 100 pediatric neurologists or whatever the case is. And if you can lower those barriers, those geographic barriers, and allow people to get top flight care with robotics, with AI, with the latest technological innovations, I think it's a really compelling story on a humanitarian level, but it also just goes to show that technology, as much as we all come to shows like CEDIA Expo, CIX, and we love the tech, and we love the demos and the whiz-bang and all of that, ultimately what we're here for is the outcome. We want to be outcome guarantors. The best integrators I know don't think of themselves as technologists. They think of themselves as outcome guarantors. So if someone needs a surgery, how can the technology facilitate the outcome to save his or her life? The tech is cool, but the tech is a means to an end, and I think more and more integrators are thinking of themselves as experienced specialists, as outcome guarantors, not as technologists, as cool as the tech is, and obviously it's super cool.
Help me with something. So when I leave here and I'm back speaking with interior designers, landscape architects, designers, manufacturers, product developers in the shelter and commercial spaces, right? I feel like, and I want your take on this, I feel like there is a Tower of Babel effect. There's a language barrier. I don't see many, if any, interior designers here. And I feel like they should be.
Yeah.
They're at ICFF, they're at High Point, they're at Maison, they're at Salone, and all of those are incredibly important shows. And I've been joking about it, but how many sofas do you need to see? To me, this seems like one of those topics. This is an industry unto itself. Help me with the language. How would you tell an interior designer or an architect that feels they stay in their lane, so they don't work directly with integrators? They leave that to the client or the builder. What do you say to them?
That's a really, really good question, and I do agree with you, the premise of your question, that in a lot of ways the integration community may in some ways be segmented off or cordoned off in some meaningful way. I mean, they might work with the GC, they might work with the consultant, but they're probably not interfacing that much, as you say, with the interior designer, with the architect. I think part of it is that a lot of times integration is perceived as kind of like the last mile in a space. Like a lot of stuff has gone down before the integrator even becomes part of the conversation. And I know a lot of our industry associations like NSCA and like AVIXA are trying to get integrators to the table earlier so they can have more of an ideating role in thinking about the geography of the space and the layout and the design choices, because all of it affects our ability to deliver outstanding technological outcomes. I would say if they're not coming here, one thing is for integrators to try to go to them, go to interior design expos or go to architectural expos. Make yourself aware until such time as there is no choice but for us to have a seat at the table. Because again, if we're trying to be outcome guarantors, if we're trying to be experienced architects, we cannot come in the last mile of the project and say, now all of these decisions have already been made, money has been invested, drywall has been put up, design and decor choices have been made, and we have to live within someone else's reality. Let's try to shape that reality from the outset. And if they're not coming to us, we should come to them. And again, just try, whether it's with CSI master format, how we're classified, make sure that we are in a position where the trade is recognized, the trade is respected, and the trade is brought in as early as possible. Again, I commend NSCA, AVIXA, and other advocacy associations for trying to make integration better known, better respected, and better appreciated.
I have heard this before, and I subscribe to the philosophy. Looking at residential, for example, a home is a machine. A home is a combination of a series of parts and systems.
It is.
And it is designed, when it is well designed, its purposes are clear, its functionalities are clear, and it will work seamlessly with other systems, functions, and products. I imagine the idea of a car. We're here at CEDIA Expo in the lobby in a Volkswagen Buzz ID, and this is so much fun for me, but sitting here all day having these amazing conversations, it got me thinking about it. Could you imagine if you took a vehicle and you said, okay, we're going to have this designer design it, we're going to have that architect come up with the concepts, we're going to have all these other products that we really love, we're going to put it into it, but we're not going to have anyone make sure that all the systems and products and procedures are all talking to one another.
Right. It's unthinkable.
It's unthinkable. But it's real, and it happens.
Yeah.
And for that reason, that's what's so exciting about this. This is all about opportunity.
It is all about opportunity, and I mean, we're hearing a whole lot about smart homes and frictionless, fully functional homes, connected technologies, and again, peripheral opportunities like we talked about a few moments ago. The idea that commercial AV or residential AV is not non-overlapping magisteria with security and with locks and door, there's a whole ecosystem of which AV is part, and I think a show like CEDIA Expo CIX is increasingly recognizing that there is an overall technological ecosystem, a functional ecosystem, a smart home ecosystem, a connected technologies ecosystem that we are recognizing much more holistically, and by recognizing it holistically and embracing that holistic approach, again, that includes security and robotics and everything else, we are going to be able to guarantee the outcomes that we want, make our customers happier, elevate our trade among other trades, and hopefully again get a seat at the table earlier so that we can deliver even better outcomes in partnership with designers, architects, and other collaborators.
And one of the things that had come up in the town hall, which I found fascinating, was the idea of advocating for the industry, which I think is incredibly important, because if you don't advocate for it and get integrators listed in the census as an employment code, that's a detriment to the industry.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're looking at that and you approach it that way, I think is fascinating. The other question is, how do you get the manufacturers, how do you get the brands to start working in a cohesive, and I don't know the answer to this, and I don't expect you to either, to get them to work in a completely cohesive, play well in the sandbox, where things like apps, you will hear integrators talking endlessly about the fact that they don't want them to be cloud-based. They want them to be able to be localized so that they can talk to each other and work together. But that doesn't always work within the engineering ecosystem of a brand.
No, you're right. And I think we are seeing a little bit more cross-collaboration within the vendor and manufacturer community. One example I'll throw out that we're hearing a lot about at recent trade shows on the commercial side is the Open AV Cloud initiative. There are a lot of vendors that work with each other or work in competition with each other that are signing on and saying, I believe in this vision. You've seen it over the years with Milan, the audio protocol, competitors and peers alike signing on. And I think we're seeing it in the increasing rise of open APIs and people recognizing that walled gardens where you say, I'm going to try to own all of this, I want to make you captive to me, is not the order of the day anymore. And therefore people need to kind of open up their APIs, make them accessible, prioritize interoperability and playing nice in the sandbox. Because if you're trying to own all of the business or just cordon off everybody, that is not, A, it's not what people want, and B, it is not the way of the future. People want interoperable systems that mold themselves to them, that hew to their own preferences with vendor choices and product choices and whatnot. So I am hopeful that there will be more of a communitarian mindset in the industry, and I think it will be important for there to be a communitarian mindset in the industry moving forward.
So I'm going to preface my last question for you by saying this. The question is, so I'll give you a moment to think about it a little bit. I want to know what you've seen here this year. We're in day one, so it's early. But what have you seen here that you're really excited about? And it's not about giving shout outs to any brands or anything in particular, but it can be ideas or concepts. And while you're thinking about that, I will preface that by saying, one of the things that annoys me to no end, like anybody asked me, is the fact that we're entering the silly season. That is the time of year where all of the design magazines, all of the websites, all the listicles come out. Here are the top 25 things you're going to see in design in 2026. Here are the things you're never going to see again in design in 2026. And with interior designers, I always laugh about it because the white kitchen is on the top of both lists.
Right.
Like every year it's in the top 5 or top 10. But you can't do what we do, what you do, what integrators do, what brands do, if you're looking at a fashion-esque seasonal list at trends. Trends are silly.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be fun for clickbait or to look at. But when you're talking about millions of dollars and projects that are, whether it's residential or commercial, the professionals don't pay any attention to the trends. Mm-hmm. However, when things emerge, that's how movements are started.
Right.
What are you seeing? What are you seeing that you think has legs, that's moving you?
Well, it's a very eloquently phrased question, and I think the answer that I would give, and of course, as you say, I'm not going to name any names, but I did sit down for a full half-hour demo today, prominent audio company, immersive sound that was like spatialized around you. You felt like you were fully immersed. And what might have been 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years ago, a presentation that was focused on what the SPL levels were and like what the tweeters looked like, this was all about the experience. They had Formula One movie playing and they had music playing, and it was truly experiential. It wasn't a diagram of the spec sheet. It made me feel like there's a genuine embrace of what is experiential for experiential sake, what is immersive for immersive sake, and how the sensation of awe and wow and that rumble in your chest that ineffable feeling. And it's not about a spec sheet, it's about a feeling. And it could be in a home theater, it could be in a light commercial application. What makes me excited, what makes me optimistic is this embrace of the experiential. And I think post-pandemic, we might have had a lot of adaptive expenditure for conference rooms and stuff like that, but I think the real money in the future is going to be, whether it's residential or commercial, giving us those goosebump moments where the hair on your arm stands up because you feel something. And that for that 30 minutes, I felt something. And hopefully that is something that we continue to experience throughout CEDIA Expo CIX. Again, as you say, day one, but that was a pretty high bar to hit on the day one of the show.
Just a point on top of that, isn't it amazing to see what we learned during the pandemic, mm-hmm. then got put into action post-pandemic, and now you're seeing it come to the marketplace.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, the pandemic was truly like a catalyst moment in a lot of different ways. How we work, how we collaborate, how we learn. But I think now that we've largely put it in the rear view, thankfully, hopefully never comes back again, that catalyst moment is even continuing to reverberate as people look for what is going to give them that indelible, unforgettable experience. And that demo was pretty unforgettable, so I hope it's just scratching the surface of what we're going to see for the rest of CEDIA Expo CIX.
Dan, thank you for doing this. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josh. Great interview. Thank you so much.
You are listening to Road Trip from CEDIA Expo 2025, and we're going to get back to it with Joe Piccirilli right after this. At the highest level of design, the absolute best specifying designers, architects, landscape designers are all highly focused on the technology and performance of products and materials today. You have to, because the products you specify for your projects have to perform and they have to last. That's one of the reasons why I am so proud to be working with TimberTech. Their focus on the technical renaissance of synthetic decking is literally changing the conversation about innovation and performance. It pulls focus on 3 priorities homeowners have and expect from the products their designers and architects specify for their luxury projects. 1, aesthetics must match the overall design and fit visually. 2, durability and maintenance. I've told you about my board flipping stories from my own wood decks. Clients not only want beauty, but they want ease of use, and they want it to last for decades. 3, sustainably made. Clients are more conscious of the environment now, and they want the same of their materials. TimberTech hits each one of these elements with a product that not only meets expectations, they exceed them. TimberTech makes a synthetic decking that looks just like wood, color and embossed wood grain for a natural appearance. Their composite decking is technologically superior.
as it has been created to last for decades, and it's manufactured with up to 85% recycled material. Their advanced PVC, vintage, and landmark collections have a Class A flame spread rating, making these products an amazing choice for wildfire-prone areas, which unfortunately continues to grow on the risk map. Check the show notes for more information about this and to find the nearest showroom or lumberyard where you can find TimberTech, or you can check them out directly, timbertech.com. The Design Hardware Showroom is a space where specifiers can go and find an incredible selection of high-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware, and so much more. Select products are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. You will find everything you're looking for, even the products by brands you didn't know you didn't know. Surprise and delight. Am I right? All under one roof on 3rd Street in Los Angeles, just up the street from the Grove. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find inspiration, collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your specification list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com, at Design Hardware and Flooring on the socials, or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Joe Piccirilli, CEO and founder of RoseWater Energy. RoseWater is an interesting business for me because I have been in this industry for 52 years. I dropped out of engineering school. I was working on a master's degree in engineering years and years ago to start a stereo company, and as you might imagine, my parents were incredibly upset. But I started a company called Sound Advice in South Florida, and I was able to build it large enough where I took it public in the 80s and retired, which was terrific. But I was bored in 3 months, and I found an opportunity to build a distribution company. It was called Avid, and Avid became infamous within the industry. But we distributed Crestron and Lutron, and what I noticed during my Avid days is customers hated it. It always broke. I live with an installer or a programmer. In fact, I'm building him a room in my house. It always malfunctions on the day I need it. So I'm going, why? My first thought as an engineer was to take it off our shelves. I took it apart. Build quality, parts quality. I wanted to inspect it. Those two product lines are built incredibly well. And because at that point I had 30 warehouses around the United States, I could do a qualitative analysis of installations. And because those products are very well documented, the installations for the most part were quite good. So for me, that narrowed the problem down to power. And it was power that was causing the malfunction of the microprocessors in those devices. So in 2008, I began the quest to build the most complete energy resilience solution available for residential use at the panel level. And that's how RoseWater was formed. I had no price point in mind. I was going to build the most complete product and the highest quality product. No holds barred, let's have at it. It took me 4 years to find a manufacturer and to design and develop the product. And the RoseWater Hub series are the result of that. So that's our story.
I love that. There's so much here I want to drill down on.
Go for it.
So I'm going to make the assumption that you were studying electrical engineering.
That would not be correct.
Mechanical.
No. I'm an Italian kid. I was getting a master's degree in civil engineering because I was going to be a contractor, because that's what Italians do.
Do you know of all disciplines, that would have been my absolute last compared to where you are and what you're doing now?
I would agree with you. It should be your last choice.
Where did you go?
University of Michigan.
Okay. So I have a CPE in the family.
Yes.
And I had a chance to witness firsthand what one goes through during the course of an engineering degree. And I'm going to say something that I think maybe all would not agree with, and that is you don't need a degree if you know where you want to go, or you have an idea that entrepreneurship. I think an engineering education provides an amazing primer for someone who wants to go into entrepreneurship.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, I have been advocating that there should be offered a minor in engineering for everyone. I would, quite honestly, I was never going to be an engineer. I started in engineering school because math and science came really easy to me, which is, I know, is counterintuitive, but I could skate through engineering school. But the basic knowledge of science, all of the sciences, because we had to study every field in engineering, the disciplined way we are taught to think, the processes, is invaluable to me. And as someone who has always been an entrepreneur, I can't think of a better education. There is nothing I would change. I might have paid a little more attention in college than I did at the time, but it was the 60s, I was having some fun. So
I hope you are having some fun. But what's interesting is, had you gone in the direction of the degree, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now.
Absolutely not.
Where did you notice, and when did you notice the need? And I recognize the brand story, Crestron and Lutron, but that idea to make the connection between point of failure and cause of failure, that's a large chasm that can encompass a lot of different things.
I would agree, but again, my training from school was to, okay, here's a problem, how do we find a solution? Well, first thing is, let's be clear on the cause. So you start to look for causality, and as you eliminate the obvious, well, is it crappy product? Well, that's no. Is it crappy installation? Well, that wasn't the case. So it narrows the variables. And when it came down to this is power, and you begin to research the grid, because the grid itself cannot, even under ideal circumstances, produce constant voltage. It can't, because it can't anticipate load. So when everybody's air conditioners turns on unexpectedly, the grid sags. There's no way around it. And what is interesting, as I researched the problem, because everybody talks about spikes and lightning and surge, God forbid, that happens, it destroys all our gear. That is not the case. The biggest culprit is sags. And what happens when the voltage sags, your lights dim in New York, they call it a brownout. But because of the nature of power measured in watts, if it sags, the device being powered takes more current. Current generates heat. Microprocessors hate heat. And in fact, one of the most difficult engineering problems in microprocessors as they miniaturize them is, how do you dissipate heat? So it is LED bulbs, which are supposed to last forever and a day and don't. It's because of sags. They overheat. That beautiful microprocessor in your Wolf cooktop is destroyed because of sags, or has to be rebooted. And think about it, today there is not a room in your house that does not contain a microprocessor. So for this channel, it is a way to broaden your importance in the overall build, because power is foundational now. And it's not just power to the house, it's the quality of power to the house. And that's really what we do well. I mean, when I talk about a complete solution, typically things that regulate voltage, that create perfect power, have no battery backup. Their battery backup time is measured in minutes. I said that's not enough. So mine is measured in hours and days. People talk about the ability to have a renewable to increase the life of your battery. And generally you have to go out and kludge that into a system. A RoseWater device, you can hook solar directly to it. DC, because that's what solar panels actually produce. And it will keep the batteries charged, and if the batteries are fully charged, it will feed the load. So it never goes to waste. That's what makes it complete. We talk about, yes, you have to protect. I live in Florida, so we have lightning, lots of it. So I go, how do you really protect against lightning? Because you don't go buy a $400 surge protector, because that's never going to work. So I said, how do broadbands, how do telcos, how does the military at their mission critical sites protect against natural anomalies? And those circuits are in a RoseWater. I just put those in because they're the best. Now I will say, because I have to qualify this, if Mother Nature decides to be a bully, she wins all the time. There is no perfect protection. But that's what we're about.
What does the system look like? What is the integration? What is the application?
Great question. The system is large. Our entry-level system is about 84 inches tall, about 28 by 28 in footprint, and weighs a svelte 2,400 pounds. So, and what RoseWater provides is we deliver the product to job site, we install the product. So it is my team, because an installation, a high voltage installation, for many of our dealers is not possible. They don't have the expertise in-house. And from my point of view, leaving it up solely to an electrician, and I know this will surprise the audience, but electricians vary in competence. Some of them are quite good, others are not so good. So in order for Joe to sleep well at night, I have to supervise, my teams supervise the installations everywhere.
What does an installation look like? And I qualify that by saying there's so much now that you have to take into account that maybe you didn't even 10 or 15 years ago.
That's
and
correct.
It doesn't matter where you are. If you're in Texas, you've got a completely unreliable grid.
Yes.
If you're on the coast of Florida, you've got hurricane issues, you've got lightning issues, you've got salt air issues, you've got high wind issues. If you're in the Midwest, you've got extreme cold, extreme heat, high humidity, low humidity. I mean, there is no safe place anymore. So how do you mitigate? How do you manage?
Well, what we end up doing, and we've developed a system for our integrators when they present to clients, because you can't talk technical to clients. They'll just glaze over. But we talk to them about what is critical to your lifestyle. Do you cook? Well, your appliances are not critical. Are you a wine collector? Your wine room is very critical. You never want that offline. In South Florida, where I live, people have walk-in humidors. And they have cigar collections that, as one of my clients says, I have a wine room and a cigar collection. During a storm, I want to go in my humidor, drink a bottle of wine, and smoke a cigar. So he wants that never to go down. And so by interviewing the client, we can then determine a load profile. Okay, here are the things. We have all of those loads in our database. And then we go, that's to do what you want to do. That might be our entry-level product. And we create, with an electrician, this is what the critical load panel, typically a generator panel, looks like. Wire that. When we get there, we will wire our product into that panel. It really is much less complicated than people think about it.
Less complicated, more expensive.
Yes.
I bring that up
Yes.
because the nature of cost versus expense
Yes.
is a philosophical one.
Yes.
It is.
I agree.
If you are building a $5 million home in a coastal city in Los Angeles,
Yes.
or Florida, and your insurance company is not going to cover you, there aren't a lot of people out there who can afford to say, you know what, that's fine. But if you do everything you can to protect yourself, for example, in a fire-prone community,
Yes.
if you have uninterrupted power that can draw water through the pump from the swimming pool, that can, through actuators, close off eaves and vents so that floating embers can't penetrate, thereby making it a passive home.
Right.
If you have constant power in an emergency, that can lower automatically storm or security shutters. Now we're talking about something that an insurance company mitigates the need. There's an importance for insurance companies, but if they're not going to be there to protect you anyway, then how does one protect themselves?
You make a number of important points. Insurance companies now are suffering from having to replace appliances, expensive appliances, because of power problems. So as we spoke about earlier, microprocessors proliferate every system in the house. Now the insurance company claims become massive. To your point, the ability to protect the house, keeping those microprocessors always functioning, dropping your hurricane shutters, making sure that your sprinkler systems are always working, is critical. And think about this trend of aging in place. People want to stay in their homes. Well, now you need sensors in every room that will detect motion and heat. And if they are out of whack, we'll call 911. Now you're talking about life and death. Everybody's talking about telemedicine and how do we bend the healthcare cost curve? Well, one of the ways we're going to bend the healthcare cost curve is eliminate the lab. Because now the blood samples and urine samples that you need to run tests are very small. And the equipment to do the analysis is cheap. So that's going to be done at home. And then it's going to be transmitted to your doctor, who will create a televisit for you. Again, now you're talking about life and death. That's way different.
Do you have many clients in the healthcare space?
Yes, we do. We have clients, and then of course we have test labs that can't go down because they can't lose their samples. But we have clients who are building houses that they want the resilience. The other thing people don't think about, a lot of our clients really understand the value of their time. And when you think about it, it is the most valuable thing anybody has. And you would like to spend that time doing things you actually like. So regardless of your socioeconomic status, unless you really love cutting your grass, the minute you can afford to have somebody do that for you, you hire them so you could do something else.
That's hilarious, because I still mow my own lawn.
Well,
but I brought it up and I asked you the question because I was having a conversation
yes.
with an incredible architecture firm, and we were talking about the future of healthcare architecture. And we got into this really esoteric conversation about what a dystopian future would look like, because when you're planning for the worst, you have to imagine the worst.
Correct.
And then you reverse engineer it, and you've got something that is suitable under all conditions. So we started talking about this, something that's actually happening now through proliferation of AI and the proliferation of virtual meetings, telemedicine, and robotics.
Mm-hmm.
This idea that you can take a community that isn't served by a large hospital system, drop in a regional operating room that can be utilized by world-class surgeons and doctors around the world. So you're in the middle of Terre Haute, Indiana, and you have this world-class hospital, micro-hospital, regional
Right.
hospital, serving a community that the doctor the surgeon who's performing this surgical procedure robotically is in Japan.
Correct.
We're not there yet. We are very, very close, but you can't do that with interruptible power.
Impossible. And when you're projecting into the future like that, and one of my bucket list items was to see all 50 states, and the only one I was missing was Alaska. And when you go to Alaska, where you have to have a seaplane to go to the grocery store, much less have medical help, it's an incredible thing. To have a regional robotic facility that could do surgery changes life in areas of the country. mean, even within the Continental, there are spots in Montana and Wyoming where you are so far away from what we would classify as civilization, and that changes the face of human healthcare.
And you back up a second, back to your engineering
Yes.
experience. And there are reasons why. I mean, technologically speaking, what we have in the world, in this country, is incredible. But the fact that we don't have uninterruptible power supplies is unfathomable. And it's this combination of apathy, the Dunning-Kruger effect, and an I know more than you know scenario.
Yes, I would add something else to it. There are, until the digital age, everybody thought power was perfect. Remember, the very first product that really showed bad power was a VCR, because it always blinked 12. But what did people blame? They blamed the product. They never blamed the utility. And today that still exists. I hear people who live in New York City say New York City has perfect power. And they were the inventor of the brownout. So it's just, there is that whole, no, my lights are on, the utility's perfect. So they don't understand, and slowly we are lifting the curtain on, I have this weird stat. Across the country, there are 7 hours and 28 minutes on average of power outages in aggregate a year. The other 8,752 hours are what's destroying your product.
I do think it would be important. Editor's note for those listening who are under a certain age: a VCR
Sorry.
was modern technology in the 1970s into the 1980s, where you could actually record something on tape and rewatch it. Thank you. That's all. That was a public service announcement.
I have to. When I'm in a room giving that analogy, and I look around the room and I'm going, "Oh my God, none of these people were alive when there were VCRs." You know, I have to think of something else now.
Well, but I think it's important because it helps tell the story.
Yes.
My background's in radio, and I was working with a a globally recognized disc jockey in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
And one summer, we went through the process of digitizing his entire catalog.
Wow.
What was interesting about it, to me, was the process. Reel to reel. 8-track.
Yes.
Cassette. DAT. CD. Prior to that was vinyl.
Yes.
And then there was various hard drives.
Yes.
You're talking about that level of change between the mid-1970s and 2020.
It is incredible the amount of change we have seen in this 50-year period. And now, as we walk into the age of artificial intelligence, it's going to dwarf that level of change.
I agree with that, but I bring up the point because in your industry, with a product that you have, it seems silly to me that nowadays we're looking for ways to mitigate power delivery instead of addressing the root cause. But that would put you out of business.
Well, but the other thing is the root cause, because a grid cannot anticipate a load change. You know, if tomorrow is going to be hotter than expected, because a utility works by producing a base load. So when it exceeds the base load, it sags. It's the very nature of the design of a generator prevents this from happening. Now, if you wanted to prevent it, a micro nuke in everybody's home, that'll do it, because then you're on your own.
But what you're providing, your service, your
Yes.
product, is that not in essence an individual microgrid?
Yes.
It's almost like what we have for individual routers. It's the same premise.
It's exactly the same premise, and that's why in my terminology, it is a complete energy resilience device, which is what a microgrid is, because it takes in all forms to give you the resilience you need to protect against the technology that is inadequate at this moment.
Is it scalable?
Yes.
Is it modular?
Modular, no, you add units. I have units that are varied in output, depending on what is necessary for client satisfaction. I don't go bigger than a 3-phase 75 kilowatt, which is meaningless to our audience, but we handle very, very large projects just using multiples of units.
I see a need coming up, and it's interesting because I'm having this conversation all the time with designers, interior designers, architects.
Yes.
It is probably one of the fastest growing facets of regional shelter projects today. It's the safe room.
Yes. We protect a lot of them.
Well, and that's what I wanted to ask you about, and that's why I ask about scalable, modular, because I envision something, and I want your take on this. The traditional problem with a safe room is that it didn't encompass all threats.
Correct.
So if you have an impenetrable safe wall, an impenetrable safe room door, an impenetrable safe room bulletproof window, and all somebody has to do is come out and knock out the power,
Not so safe anymore.
you're not so safe anymore.
Right.
You're in a cage.
Right.
Is basically what you're in a protected cage, and as long as you can outlast. But if you don't have power and you don't have cell service and you can't call for assistance, you're stuck.
Yes. You're extremely vulnerable, and a large segment of our client base all have safe rooms. And when we talk about using multiple products, there is generally in those projects a RoseWater dedicated to just the safe room.
So when you're talking about dedicated to just, so it's gapped, it's air gapped.
It's yes, it is. So if you were to cut the power leading into the safe room, nothing would happen, because the power is going to be provided by the RoseWater, and it will be perfect. All your microprocessors, all your communication devices will never notice. So that's one of the uses.
And I love that. Do you have any other uses that you've been thinking about that you think in the next 5 to 10 years will be worthy of a ubiquitous conversation?
For me, everything for my future view is the two things we have covered, and that's health and the wellness of an aging population wanting to stay in their homes. For the next decade, that is going to be all-consuming, and that's where we see it. It is, when you start going into the dystopian conversations, then we're getting away from me being able to plan for it at that point. So, but that's where we are.
Yes, but with an engineer's education, and just wrapping this up with a nice bow, I kind of feel like that's what it is. Talking to a good friend of mine who's an architect one time, I asked him, what did your architecture education prepare you for? Did it teach you how to design? He said, no, I was already creative prior to that. He said, it taught me how to think critically.
Yes.
And I think ultimately, if there's more of that, that leads to the problem solving.
Exactly right. And as we started, I think everybody should have a minor in engineering at a minimum. I mean, it has taught me all of those things, plus it has really taught me how to learn.
Yeah.
I have a disciplined approach to gathering knowledge for myself. And for me, it's great.
Thanks for doing this.
It was absolutely my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
It was my pleasure. You were great.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Joe, for taking time to share your thoughts and ideas. Thank you to my incredible partner sponsors, Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, TimberTech, the AZ Company, Best Buy, and Design Hardware. And keep in mind that their sponsorship of Convo by Design allows me to seek out sublime design stories from beyond the work itself and showcase unique personalities, chasing new ideas, and changing the way we think about design and architecture, and present it all to you. So please give them an opportunity on your next project. Thank you to EmeraldX and CEDIA Expo and everyone who participated in the event this year for having me out and allowing me to record from inside that Volkswagen ID Buzz. That was so much fun. Thank you for listening and sharing this journey of ours. 2026 marks, as I've said before, 13 years of constant and consistent publication of the podcast with over 700 interviews. And I couldn't do it without you, wouldn't want to. So please, keep sending me those emails, guests that you'd like to hear on the show and locations where you'd like to hear the show recorded live. Convo by Design at Outlook.com, and keep the conversation going on Instagram at Convo by Design with an X. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, be well, stay focused and driven so you can rise above the chaos.